Sponge always keeping it real, and you know what? We're going to do the exact same thing here. Launders, I don't know who you sucked up to for us to get the major finals rematch. But hot damn, am I ready for this one?
Yeah, let's see. I'll do a lot of things for very little reward.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm just the kind of guy. So you're lucky to have me in your corner, and I think for Astralis, they're lucky to have Magisk in their corner. I think him as a pit player is going to be maybe the most important thing for Astralis. Although overall, they've got no weaknesses. I feel like Long was something that was predicted to be the most important part of the map in the early round for Dust 2, and Magisk as the pit player is going to be alone a lot of the times, and will have to deal with late execs as well as early ones. And he is just so fantastic as an anchor rifler. The guys, who could be a fantastic pit player. I think he's going to come into play many, many, many times over. And it was also talked about with Zippix, how good he was, having a rating on par with the Opper of Astralis, and that's him playing mid to B, and also being a rotator that plays both game helper and mid to B, and has to decide on his own terms based on what he hears if he needs to help the B players or if he needs to help the Vice at A. And that's such an important thing to do, and most of the game for the Ts is trying to intercept and interfere with this kind of micro rotation between the spawn and game helper over and over again. Zippix, within a matter of seconds, can be in a bad position or a great position, and because he's so smart, he's so good at playing that role.
I think that's a rotation that we're actually going to have to keep an eye on when it comes to Ence being on the CT side as well, because Chad alluded to it just there in the pregame. Like, we need to see a fix to the B side of Ence. That was actually one of the most shakiest situations that they found themselves facing continuously throughout their miraculous run at IEM. So fingers crossed that during the time they've had prepping here for Sao Paulo, that we're going to see a little something different. We're going to have a lot of Astralis on Dust too, and there's a sample size just previously with Liquid almost taking it the distance. So I'm ready to see it, because if we compare what we saw from Astralis with a top-heavy affair in Magisk and Device, it was a complete opposite situation for Ence versus MIBR on Train. Like, Ence through and through, every single player performing. They looked like they had brought the form from Poland straight here to Brazil.
Yeah.
It's one best of one.
Yep.
I'm not going to count my chickens just yet.
It was a prerequisite for this match to see how well they would do first game of the day, and it proved to be a good primer for the team. They looked fantastic, and just from the fragging department were great. And even though I think it was Ariel who finished the first half with a 4K, and he was 18-4 I think in total, overall everybody's kill distribution was quite tight. So it's good to see from Ence. I think this match could be great. It could go the distance. I don't think it'll actually be a stomp, at least based on what we've seen. We're a little bit biased because we only watched Ence, but even Liquid took them to round 30 last map on Dust 2 as well. So there won't be that demo for Ence to watch, and that's one thing working in Astralis' favor. And the other thing that's going to work in Astralis' favor actually is the fact that they were able to prep Dust 2 so much, knowing they're going to have to play it so many times.
Well, Launders, let's just let these players speak for themselves. They say revenge is a dish best served cold, but this one could get hot. Sunny Dust 2. Dupree and Magisk already having worked their way up Catwalk. They've got to be cautious. It looks like Alexi wants to strike into their side, and he almost finds the timing. Excellent flashbang over the top, but Alu doesn't seem all too effective. Magisk will trade straight away, and Alu does the same. 4v3. Bomb site is occupied by Astralis. They'll take their plant, and the retake's on. It's already up Catwalk, in fact. Alu just charges forward prior to Sergey even arriving. And now we're going to get that long player doubling back from Astralis as well. A second casualty possibly here for the CTs in the exact same spot. They just keep getting cut down. One after another, all four players fall, and we've got Astralis with a pistol.
Yeah, an easy start. All picking good times to fight in that 3v3. They even had that late long presence to lock it down. But the small caveat is that because they had 3 Glocks, they had to fight early. And if it did come down to one player at long, maybe that Glock wouldn't have been so useful. So I think Alu dying here is something that changes the pace of the round. And I think if he was able to stay alive just a little bit longer, it would have been key for him or for his team, because again, they have that USP advantage, and they managed to recover their USPs as well, or at least make sure that Astralis couldn't find them. So we are going to move into the next round here. I think there might have been a pause called. I'm not sure if it's tech or tack, but I guess whatever keeps your breath fresh. There's a number of good guns being bought up for Astralis. I think this update might be maybe the death of the Galil or the rebirth of the Galil, depending on how often people buy on low money. Dupree has picked it up on this round.
We can both agree. I hope you're in my camp here. The FAMAS is better than the Galil, right?
The FAMAS is better than the Galil.
Okay. I was going to have to maybe find a new partner.
Yeah. No, this FAMAS is a marksman's weapon, and the Galil is for somebody who hopes for the best.
The optimistic type.
Objectively, but it's a tight spray. The bullets shoot out a little bit quickly. They kind of fall out of your gun, but I think I would rather have a FAMAS in my corner. But that being said, I know neither of the spray patterns. 8,000 hours later.
I'm a FAMAS king. Just to let you know, you can always fall back on me.
Cool. Yeah, not exactly sure what the pause is called for, but everyone still seems to be in good spirits. I'm sure it won't be that big of an issue. Dupree sipping on what looks like pop. It's looking like pop.
Soda.
It's a syrupy. Excuse me. You say pop as well, don't you?
No, I don't. I'm not from Toronto.
What? I thought that it was just a Canada-wide thing.
No, we say soda.
We don't have to talk about this for so long.
Let's not.
I would like to get to the bottom of it later. But either way, we're going back into the game. Astralis are up 1-0, and again, to reiterate the buy, they've got a couple of good guns. Device is just going to hang back on the USP. Dupree is the one with the Galil that we talked about earlier, and a bunch of CTs coming onto his screen.
There we have it. First kill is his. He's going to fall back, and Magus takes his place, looking to just mow down these CTs. They force feed their way forward, and Magus going to tap off the Glock, finds himself the final kill, and that's Astralis with a follow-up. No casualties. Excellently done.
Yeah, obviously high traffic area there at the Xbox, and that's why the CTs wanted to try to burst out. As soon as you know that it's like some kind of too lower attack, or that players are going to come from top mid, you know that there's a small window of timing where players are jumping up on the Xbox, where it's an optimal time to push with USPs, and they try to band together as you should with USPs or any lesser guns and push out. Pretty simple eco there for Ence, even though it doesn't go their way. The idea was pretty good. Now we're into round 3, device opping from the top of mid. All of the rest of Astralis in a straight-up default, and it looks like he'll have an op looking in his direction as well. It's kind of a tough spot here for Alexi. No man's land almost as he crosses towards the car. Their A site is so limited on help. I mean, he himself, the one person there, is not in a good spot and is now rotating out, but there's mid to B presence from Astralis.
Yeah, that's going to pull Sergey's eyes back down towards mid. Even Alexi comes through spawn, but it's Aerial on Catwalk to at least even things out. All the while, Long A is open so wide for Astralis to potentially hit, but they hesitate. And understandably so. They want that bomb in position. Zipex has now joined him. Glave's just going to go hopping across. And as the Molotov flies, Alexi holds. He's just going to wait, take a bit of damage through the spam. You can see all these bodies. Excellent bird's eye view here. And yet nobody presents themselves to Sergey. Finally, he's going to get a bit of an angle off that head boost, but he loses the bottom of the totem pole, and the rotator, in the form of Aerial, has yet to skewer anyone on this bomb site. Little spam shots over towards Car, trying to find an opening, but they are getting shut down. Sergey left now, all that's left, and, well, there you go.
I don't know what that looked like to you, Connor, but to me that looked like a terrible place to be if you're going to hold A, if you even have the suspicion that someone might come A. The fact that Alexi was there in that spot is one thing, alone is another. If you had a teammate, him being a rotator, in flux between CT spawn and that position makes more sense, but with no support, no site control, no car control, which it seemed like he was kind of thinking about, flirting with the idea of moving over towards, they didn't have many options to hold. And then at that point, after the A hit comes out, they're tempted to go for the retake, but it's so unlikely, so they end up just losing a ton of money.
And a classic Astralis situation where they give no opening. They minimize the ability to make a mistake. They didn't show anybody to that totem pole that we had going on behind smoke. So Ence in a position to try and crack it open, but it's the B site that's being opened at the moment. Zipex falls down off of the boxes. X7 will get a kill from CT spawn, but Magisk is trying to trade back these frags. It's the sole 2 remaining players of Ence over here in their spawn, getting peppered by the Augs. Scary prospect handing that over to the terrorist side. But Dupree, block spam, not going to get it done. It's Magisk with a helping hand, and Astralis with a 4th round.
One away from being on fire already. So Astralis off to a hot start, and they look really good, and Ence have already made questionable decisions with their positioning and how they're rotating. So I'm so curious about this round in particular. Olu is going to be picking up the op, but not only that, X7 will join him in that affair. He's got an op for himself as well. Interesting adjustment to make. It does ease up on rotations if communication seems to be a problem. Double op setup, cure that, and a kill out at the beginning of the round on one of those ops is going to easily counterplay And now, with long control, they've at least got something. Or it's actually Astralis to take that, excuse me. But it's Aerial to make his way up mid.
Yeah, he hears the op shots behind him, so he is going to turn around. Helps with an assist versus Device, but Zipex going to prevent him from going all in on some kind of crazy play. Had he not been distracted by that opper in mid, then he just slips them the tongue.
Where'd he put that tongue?
That's up for you to decide, Launders.
Okay, I'll use my imagination. An interesting start. Aerial is in a tough spot. He didn't want to fire so quickly, right? He didn't want to do that, but
of course,
too tantalizing him an opportunity. An opper there at Xbox, free kill, save my teammate, drop the op.
Especially with that opper pushing through the doors, like, you know, that chance of getting at least one kill is minimized, but Sergey will get one and lays down the smoke directly, therefore, after.
That's that's huge.
Oh
my goodness.
Through it?
No way he does that so early.
Pure confirmation. Oh, he doesn't actually. He doubles back. And all the while, Alu is caught by Magisk, so there is no ruse at the moment. They know exactly what Astralis are up to, charging that bomb from Catwalk towards the A-bomb site. But with no hesitation from Ence, they did have a chance just now. Unfortunately for them, Sergey's shot goes wide, and Alexi V so outnumbered that you think this is impossible. But he's going to float around here. He's tempted. A tantalizing situation ahead. A 1v2 with 15 health, op versus AKs.
There's a chance here. Talk us through it.
He's going to walk up. Now you got to clear that close right first and foremost. Bank flash clears it. No, just gets the shots off, confirms he's there. Zipex comes downwards, and it's Astralis on fire right away.
Just where they belong. Just where they're used to being. That's a really good round, but right there I think is so important. So just hold that image of the two Ts who have ops in CT spawn, right? And then try to contrast that with Nuke, for example, where your main goal is to juggle rotation so much that the CTs start coming off of the rafters onto the lower floor where they're less useful. It's the same idea here on Dust 2. And the easiest part, or the easier part for the CTs is that they can adjust those rotations a lot more quickly than you can on Nuke. It's hard to get back on the rafters, but it's not as hard to get back on the A site. But in that situation, with Astralis coming over the catwalk, having potentially presence at long, and then knowing where the CTs are below them, it's all too impossible for the CTs to do anything about it. And if they continue to abuse those rotations, it's only going to get worse for Ence. Dupree has spotted an enemy. It doesn't seem like he'll take the fight to the death, but has gotten a fair bit of information. Pistols here for Ence, so not a lot to lose, but they still like to do damage.
Oh, that's a bit of a blunder. You just have yourself a team kill, CZ frag, bomb dropped in the open 5v3. This is what nightmares are made of.
Or is this what Astralis were cut out to come back from?
Yeah. Yeah, now that I think about it, they do work magic at times. They've got that entrance up catwalk. There's this tail of a flank from Ence from long A. So, I mean, Astralis at this moment are encapsulated on catwalk, but they move forward fast enough as to not get caught from behind. The AUG scoped in, can't hit the headshot, so Zipex falls, and Glaive looking to make space for the bomb plant as Magisk pops back up. It is just Glaive left over. Looking to lead by example now on 42 health and a fresh magazine in the AK. CT's coming in, and he's got that first one back on Cat, but it's the headshot angle of Alexi which gets him, and a defuse for Ence with just pistol.
Obviously a very good attempt, but they kept the pressure on. They used the AKs to their every advantage possible and made sure that they didn't let that one slip after getting the early 3v5 off the back of a little bit of luck and also a good CZ frag, you know, to couple with it. Device shooting his teammate in the back of the head is something that you can't really plan for. It was a split-second reaction. That's maybe going to happen sometimes, and there it is. The opportunity presents itself. It wasn't a completely blind spam, but Dupree is the one who ends up becoming the target. Nice round from Alexi, as we see from his perspective as he works his way across Cat. And Ence here, the 1-5 situation. Device comes out with an opening kill, but also ends up tripping on a grenade and then eating another one directly afterward.
Nice flashbang. Alu, full white. Could argue lucky to be alive, 18 health now. Magisk has been floating here in the tunnels since the beginning of the round, and now the Opper looks to peer upon him. Catches a shot to the chest. Magisk traded by X7, who looks to lay down the smoke, but do the T's charge through, or do they hesitate?
We're seeing really good entries, but we're also seeing good responses. It seems like Ence are already holding up better than MIBR did in that first map, if anybody had watched that, where the trades were basically absent for the entire game. Here, it seems like Ence are continuing to keep it competitive, and not only that, have the advantage, obviously, in this round. So it's going to come down to Glaive and Zipex, two of the best mid-rounding minds in the game, but one of them will get taken out early and show presence of the bomb.
Now Sergey just has this one final duel to win, and does so. Excuse me, with a bullet through the eyes of Glaive. He's taken down. That's 3 survivors for Ence. What a wild way to suddenly find your first few steps into this game. You know, don't forget how that first one was added to the board.
Yeah, this is a big trade, and again, that's what's important, right? You can let that op frag go, but if you can't answer it back, and in particular on the person who got the kill, on the same side of the map, that's when you really lose. I mean, if they didn't have anyone else there at long to reclaim presence there, even if Device left after that kill, they'd always be worried about it for the rest of the round.
Yeah.
You know, the fact that they kill him is massive, and they continue again to take that trade and that momentum and bring it forward into the following kills and bring the round to completion. 2 in a row here for Ence, and although the new economy would have done them favors in the circumstance they didn't lose that round, it probably would have been a way worse situation if they had lost just numerically anyway. So here it is. Magisk, 135 ADR so far in the match. I don't expect that number to drop drastically. Again, a monster here on the server, and particularly on Dust 2.
Yeah.
What is the play for Astralis? Are they going to go back to something to do at long? I'm sure Device will take the reins here as he has the op and can control the early to mid rounds. Can take most of the fights that he wants to with minimal risk, and I think that's the key point. And because you see teams so quickly, and that's the reason Dust 2 is so popular, the op has so many options just hanging out at mid for where to find kills. This moment, Glaive posted up. They're going through the motions, taking cat control early on, lots of time left on the clock. And neither team have lost a player, which is great. We haven't seen a round really come down to a 5-on-5 execute, and I would like to get that. Glaive scouting for as much information as he possibly can get. He doesn't have confirmation on if anybody is at the ramp. Alexi B, though, wants to try to disincentivize him from jumping.
Oof, Paulo taking a lot of damage there from the counter-opper at the top of mid. Dropped to just 9. Still hesitant, Astralis, to pull the trigger on this cap push, but it's not as though anybody's come flying through tunnels or long doors yet either from Ence. Here's the chance for Alexi. Does manage one, but allows a player to slip past. X7 deals with that threat, and Alu holds for the complete cross of Cat. But there's going to be a counter-opper crouching in and not even needed. Zipex, in fact, with the AK gets the job done. 3v3, even keel, and a bomb plant on top of it to tip the scale into the favor of Astralis. Further gunfights now. Magisk hits that headshot. Aerial to fall first, but it's not over. Zipex has barely any cover here behind these barrels. The fire at the feet of his opponent, and he's fully blind. Device with a no-scope and a 1v1 with young Sergey left up creeping inwards. Device, though, knows now he takes a bit of damage, and he's still just looking for that slight angle. That smidgen of a shot is all he needs, and he's not going to find it this time round. Sergey gets on bomb. Ence, 3 rounds in a row.
3 rounds back. Really well done, and I like how you put emphasis on Zipex's duel up at the barrels. It was imperative that he was able to win, and he couldn't do that. Or, well, he did, but then it was immediately traded thereafter. So, oh, no, he died, and then Device hit that no-scope op shot. That was obviously miraculous. So, put Device in a tough position.
Just creeping on the corner of that smoke.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, it comes down to a mid-round or a late-round engagement with low numbers from both sides. Ultimately, I like how Alexi B challenged the smoke on Cat and got in front of it as they were trying to jump out sideways and peek the ramp. Glaive tried to, in that early round, get enough information that he could tell his team, okay, we can continue with this and skip these angles by jumping over top of that smoke, but Alexi made sure not to be subservient to that and made sure to cross and be in a position that was a total off angle and made the most of it in absolutely astounding fashion. So back on pistols are Astralis. Or actually, have they had to eco? This might be pistols for the first time. Tough sledding for them. They've got a fair bit of utility, and they're, again, starting to work on cat control. It's not been Ence's prerogative to go and fight them there in the early round, which some teams like to do. It's just tough for CTs, especially if you don't feel comfortable as your opper, to go up and take that shot and fall off. Some teams do it, some teams don't, but there's always the option to fall back to car or play a heavy rifle setup to make up for it. Just under a minute here, and the mid to B smoke comes out. We actually did see on an eco where they did try a mid to B, so there was one.
Oh, there's your first casualty. Alu finding Glaive. Just those pistols still ending up. Got players dropping as they try to exit. Finally, an answer comes from Magisk. He's going to try to keep that CT pinned in spawn, and does so successfully. Enables the bomb plant. They know they don't have long control, but they could get it if they can topple Aerial. He's found himself the first, however, and the distraction serves to the favor of the CTs. They head stack and clear bomb site. That's 4 now for Ence.
Yeah, not bad. You could easily lose control of an anti-eco in any situation, so I'm sure they're going to wipe sweat off their brow as they pick up this round with 3 alive. It's a good plant from Astralis. They're continuing to work Cat. They have an affinity for this part of the map, especially not just taking it early on, as most teams will do in a default almost every single round, but following through and actually crossing elbow and trying to get the bomb down. We can see that that is a huge part of their game plan. And they have been known to pick one route to a site and try to challenge that over and over again. And where Glaive's magic lies is masking that fact over and over again. And he's so good with calling these fakes and able to run distractions and leave holes in their defaults to make it seem like he's running another setup. But these few last rounds Ence have not been caught off guard. They've been totally fine and have stayed stalwart in their defense. So long control is now Astralis's for absolutely free, but in response, we have a trade as I think it's going to be Alexi once again pushing up to the top a bit. No, it's Aerial, excuse me, who was there that last round, and Glaive is going to be aware of it. He's seen this before.
Very much waiting in anticipation there, floating at the back of doors. Eventually, Dupree will come through tunnels as well. So you're going to get pinched information.
Is Aerial crouching would be my main question. Yeah, so he maybe can't be spotted from lower, which is important. But imagine how stressed out he is at the moment. Certainly clutching his mouse with all his strength as a long presence starts to rear its ugly head. Nice
nade. Substantial damage versus Magisk. He is the first caboose of this train, pushing up from long. Bomb in tow. Gonna start spamming smoke, and the off chance that Ence has a player positioned nearby, which they do. It was Alexi over behind the boxes, burned out into the open and cut down. With a volley of gunfire, it is Astralis to the man advantage. Bomb plant now theirs. And, however, don't forget, Aerial, who is at the top of mid, has found his way, worked around long, could hit this long setup if he still has teammates alive by the time he arrives. It's 2v4. Everybody's still up for Astralis on the site, just waiting. Seeing what Ence still have to throw their direction in terms of a retake. Dupree's got the backside of Sergey. Easy frag. Good lurk from him. Constantly staying in tunnels.
Yeah.
And X7 takes nothing further.
Man, they've been lackluster on these A-side retakes. That's been a pain point for them, and that's maybe why Astralis have constantly decided to work up one side of the map over and over again. Here they try long for a second time. This time it's wide open, and that's a big deal. Ence do trade for information in a really smart way. I mean, getting Aerial to top mid was cool. He also came in as a late flank, but here Device was so keen on the timing. He was able to take him out, no questions asked. And then from there was no way for them to get back into the round. Wouldn't be surprised if Astralis try it again. Alu goes ahead and takes out the mastermind on Astralis, however, and that starts off the round right for Ence. This is a pretty big play by him.
Device at least dealing back some damage, tags him to half health. You know how many times Alu's been tagged up in that op duel but not killed?
Right.
From the first shot? Like, that's at least the 3rd time now out of the first 11 rounds. So now what are you going to do, Astralis? Playing with a man disadvantage. Glaive calling the shots from the sideline.
Yeah, I'm certainly curious myself. I want to know if they still with less manpower try the same things again, or if they maybe throw in a different strat this round and then in the 5v5 situation go back to what works. Alu still, with his eyes trained on mid for just a second, is now going to be wary of the thought that they could be crossing Cat, as they've been known to do, with 2 players on the CT side over at long. This is a great setup to hold A even for retakes, but if it is a B play, the rotation is so incredibly long.
Oh. Alu taking a page out of Device's book. Hits the Opper, doesn't kill him. Looks like the second try could be the charm, or the fact that we've got 4 Ts flooding through the doors now. Looking to just trade train all the way to the B bomb site. Sergey hiding away in the cubby does get spotted and cleared by Dupree, so the pressure falls on the sole B defender in X7. He sits back on plat, collateral shot. Takes Magic's head clean off.
Let's go.
And follows onto ZipX. One-man defense at B looks good.
What a hold. What a hold by the kid. And as Chad mentioned, the highest rated player in the playoff stage of the major. Again, reminiscent of Skadoodle in the sense that he came away with that major with an MVP and had maybe spotty results before and after. There's a lot to be said about the fact that X7 can continue this form. And as Alu pointed out, there is so much more pressure on them now that they're not just a fairy tale story.
Right.
You know, that there's more eyes on them here, that they're expected to not do as well, and that everybody could characterize their major run as a fluke. And that's fair to do as long as they haven't proved it. So this is pretty big. A good start for them and a great individual performance there from X7 on that round. Alu here now taking a new position, as we talked about earlier on up here on Cat, but certainly one that'll get flashed back. The thing is, he does get immediate information, which is big. Doesn't shy away too far away from the molly and has the opportunity to get a kill. Dupree, so smart to come into that molly late, understanding that Alu's next rotation is to fall back to Carr, and expecting him to know that Dupree will respect that molly. But that's not the case.
The rest of the T's come up from Catwalk as well. Single kill from Dupree is a round changer in the sense that it's the A site wide open. Long A is a bit of a contest between Aerial and ZipX, a standoff, if you will. But Astralis seemed content to just let him sit there. And if any point we have Aerial double back towards site, that's when ZipX is going to come in for the clutch like he does best, but he's caught. And now Ence have a very real advantage. They're going to start pinching down onto this A site. Device tagged up slightly, still waiting for the shoulder peek, and he gets it. With Dupree adding in another kill, it's back into the even footing. A headshot so crisp that X7 just has to walk away. A 7th for Astralis. Ence still on 5. What a solid hit on Catwalk and a great round from Dupree through and through.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of magic moments there from Astralis. The first one is Dupree finding that window of opportunity that some would look at as an omen, a bad omen, and not run through that molly, you know, to think, okay, I'm just going to look stupid doing this. But he understood the rotation that was coming his way. So I'm going to trade 25 damage for a kill. That's how it looked in his mind, right? It was basic math. And then for Device to also go ahead and hit that wall bang. I mean, it was a perfect shoulder peek. He just hit him through the wall, and Aerial at long would have changed the game. Device was down to 20, and he was getting tagged from the side. That was a round that Ence had in spades, and they still lost.
Yep, 2v4 from Astralis in the 12th round. Gives them that 2-point lead, and most notably puts Ence into the economic dumps. We've got that saved op from X7. Pistols aplenty. 1 Deeg, 2 P250s.
Oh,
close positioning. Do it. No, he'll flash over instead.
No, X7, I mean, it's on him to try to be as mobile as possible. The more time he waits, the less opportunities he'll have to take shots in the round. And here it is. They all get activated, push up through mid and on Cat. Everybody going down, and X7 from the back lines will not find an opportunity either. It's a clean eco for Astralis. 8 rounds in the half. It's been a fantastic half from both teams, I have to say. If we look at the girthy rounds, there's so much good to say about the way that both the T's and CTs have played. Magis's ADR has still kind of managed to stay afloat. Still up in that exceptional area of 120. Anything above 100, I mean, it's something to write home about. So far showing up in a big way. And it looks like Astralis are here to protect mid as Dupree runs directly down, beating any timing that Ence may have had.
Sure enough, almost catching another player with grenades out in hand. Dupree looking to jackknife open this CT spawn, but doubles back. There's going to be some pressure from Glaive up Catwalk. Aerial's going to get himself a duel. Can't manage to win it cleanly, but still picks up the frag. A lot of damage, though, still versus Ence. Aerial to 74, Alexi 14. And Device's scope looks hungry. They get smoked off and fall back. There's still more than a minute in the round.
Yeah, they're tense at the moment. They have kind of they've taken a lead on the baton here at long. They've pushed into the doors, so there's a chance for a fast flank to come out, and this is one way to circumvent having to try to retake A. They've got the MP9, which might be more of a liability than anything because it gives you a false sense of security, but at fence, that might be the best position for him to be in, especially if it's going to be the cat exec that it seems like Astralis are posturing up to do. So we'll see how it plays out in a second. There's a lot of opportunities here for Ence to stop this from becoming a retake.
Heavy utility obscures the positions of Ence. Aerial still seems fine on ramp, but he's lost his teammate. Good trade from Magisk. He got both of those kills. And the X7 comes back from long. Now, he could very well catch them by surprise. Here's the scope of Device. And Device doesn't seem to see him, or eventually does. That was awkward.
Yeah, I mean, he's so close to the box, he's not even aware that his camera is kind of inside of the box, but Device, it's just a full head of hair. So that gets taken off, and now he looks like Moses.
Low blow, Mohan.
It's not a bad place to be, you know, great player. Alu here on the save as the bomb ticks down, and there was the chance to stop. So we look at this game, right, and we see that they've had so much trouble retaking A. So one of the antidotes to that is to stop it from ever being a retake by kind of overstacking A, relying heavily on like X7, who's been so good with the op and B, and the fact that, and also with the knowledge that Astralis have rarely tried full-on B or mid to B takes except for on ecos. So that's all good information. So they had 3 players there, that's perfect. They even had the lead off at long. But then Magisk comes out with the double entry and shuts things down. Aerial's the only one to get a kill. Part of that is because they had a feeling Aerial was going to be there, common spot to be in, but also Magisk was fully confident that he was going to find somebody at fence, even though they hadn't mollied it off, and that was a big play by him. Last round now of the half, and Astralis are starting to walk away with it.
Sergey is going to get tagged through doors. Again, Device giving a second chance of life to Ence. Very generous player.
Absolutely charitable.
Or just plays with his food before he gobbles them all up.
Could be a sinister move.
What Astralis have been doing.
Wrapped in bacon.
For the double digits. Maple syrup drizzled after. Excellent headshot. Dupree just happy and content to take his time, get eyes deep into the B site, and soften up the defense. Another kill goes their way. Sure, they do lose Glaive, but as these players come charging up through tunnels, there is a terrorist lying in wait towards their spawn. Device, easy frag on a flying aerial. Not the time to take off. He's grounded. Zipex plants bomb, 4v2. Can Ence do it back to Astralis? Can they do to their opponents what was done to them? It's their final chance here on the CT side. Alexi tagged up hard, falls at the hands of Device. And Alu, what are you made of? Missed shot, close up. Zipex will drop him. That right there, folks, is double digits for the Danes as they have slain Ence in the first half.
Yeah, and we see a B hit, you know, something that we haven't seen much of. And I don't think we saw the bomb go down in B once so far for Astralis in that half. But what a perfect time to throw a curveball, right? And compare and contrast that to Train with MIBR, where they just, you know, after a few rounds, for anyone who didn't watch, it was kind of slow, methodical defaults that all fell flat, and then they decided to throw the Hail Mary fast rush outside. And that's what teams do. You run out of ideas, you throw the fast rush outside. But if you're Astralis, you know, you can actually condition a team once you're winning rounds going somewhere into overstacking a site like they did with them on A, and then hitting B seems to be way more logical and will also, you know, pay off in dividends if you throw it in once in a while. And that seemed to be the perfect game plan for Astralis. And obviously worked out well. We are into the next pistol. Alu has an op from top mid. There are 3 CTs out at mid, which is an interesting spot to hold. I don't know if they have a read here on what Ence want to do. We'll soon find out.
You know, spotting bodies will give him a good instance, but oh, Zipex. Oh, Zipex, you mastermind. Oh, he's only gonna get himself 1. Still at least buys time for his teammates to pick up frags as well. Bomb thrown down onto the ground. Sergey looking for what would be a hell of a clutch. Gets the closest player. Another head does present itself, but he just can't connect with the Glock. And that's Astralis taking themselves a second pistol.
They had a lot of good positions. You know, it's crazy how they had Zipex in this spot that was, if it goes uncleared, is extremely powerful for defending A. But then 3 players who might be a liability over at mid who are quite committed that might not be that useful to hold on to that position. So now you have 2 parts of the map that are strengthened, even though they have kind of an inordinate amount of people in each part. And that was that kind of a cool setup for that reason. So it seemed like Astralis had some kind of information that maybe it was going to be mid, but made sure they had options if that wasn't going to be the case. So Astralis go ahead, take the 11th round, 5 away from closing this out convincingly. And I think, you know, we're still obviously in stomp territory. Can't write Ence out, however. There's still a whole T side from them to see. And now the amount of ADR started to equalize a little bit, but Magis is still in that kind of exceptional territory as everybody sorts out their buys. So it's going to be a full-on Glock save for Ence. No bomb plant in that last round to help supplant their economy. And Astralis will pick up pretty good weapons, but they did make sure to get a good number of SMGs. Magic also has a scout. I, for some reason, thought that was an off, but definitely a discount weapon for him. Also interesting to see what the second rounds are going to look like because of the new economy. And that's something that will have its own conversation for sure. But it looks like we've got quite a lot of action coming our way, Connor.
Oh, I was hoping for the chunkiest of frag grenades. He still got it. But it's the flames first at the feet of Ence. Does it push them forward or back? Flying forward, in fact. Oh my, Sergey. He's got himself 2 kills off of the Deagle. That creates space for the bomb plant to push over, but look at the damage from the frag. And what is this kid made of? Ariel's got himself a headshot off the Glock. It's just Magis left. He's got the Deagle scout for the retake, but there's a headhunter on the other side. Sergey has got it.
You're kidding. You're kidding. This guy has a subscription to the Stem Cells, and I don't know what site he gets them from, but I need the link.
This guy. You know, I mean, you could talk about all these young, upcoming players that are making waves in Counter-Strike, you know, the Rops, the Poisons, the so-and-sos. But Sergey, no one does it quite like Sergey.
No, that's nuts.
He doesn't even understand it.
He's like, wow, I'm amazing. Never experienced that, but I'm sure it's a great feeling. Pretty nasty stuff. And not only was it a good show, it was pivotal. They win that round. He protects his teammates from dying. They go ahead and now have their bye. They put Astralis in a safe situation, and they, in that moment, have now given themselves a huge potential to make it competitive, when before it seemed like, you know, maybe we just run into a stomp. So what do we have here? 2 AKs. I can't hear the game. I don't know if you can hear the game. Hopefully that gets fixed shortly, but thankfully it is just a save round here for Ence. Flash will go out to mid. One man right side door. Astralis don't seem to have a plan per se. They're more spread out and just the default to see. They might be rattled because of the fact they lost that round so dramatically.
Yeah, it's a bit of a wrench in the works early on. The T side for Ence can always be an incredible thing. Here comes Glaive, hot flank, CZ, and a whip around from Ariel. That's going to put him quickly into his coffin. Zipex, try as he might. There's just too many players and not enough bullets.
Not enough bullets, indeed. 5 up and 5 down for Astralis.
11-7.
A lot of money in the bank. And is there finally buy potential? Why is it that Astralis' money is so low in this situation? The double save, do they have not enough to buy? Did they invest last round? Did they force up? I might have missed that.
We saw CZs. I didn't catch armor.
Yeah, okay. I mean, that would make sense, but yeah, not a lot of money overall.
Alexi B and Ariel just slipping out long very quickly. Easy anti-eco, so it seems. Chewing through Astralis.
Yeah, and we haven't had, you know, the game turned on a dime because of that eco round. We haven't seen a rifle round to try to figure out what, you know, they can try to do differently, per se. The test will come now, and a big test it will be. Certainly, if you thought Astralis were fierce on the T side of Dust 2, the CT side is going to have a lot more to show.
Yeah.
It is kind of cool that because the rounds happened simultaneously, that Astralis played a whole match of Dust 2 with a ton of preparation that Ence had no idea about and weren't able to watch because they had their own game to worry about. So that keeps things fresh, and maybe we won't see as much anti-stratting, but instead adjustments on the fly, and it adds to how impressive the victory would be if Ence do grab this one. So 3 rounds the difference, and we move into round 20. And it's a full buy up. Sergey has a scout who he will actually upgrade into an AK. A lot of times when people have like a decent gun and they win the round, they almost never will upgrade. you kind of would in like a matchmaking game just because you're like slight advantage. But you know, at this level, you can see what it costs you in the grand scheme of things to lose $1,700 for absolutely no reason. So even Sergey, though, understanding the circumstances, sees that he should drop that scout, grab the AK. They need to put this one together. The 3 in a row would be huge, but not only that, the first rifle round of the half would be a landmark for them. So here it is, Alexi following the footsteps of Dupree, running Fast Cat out to the mid doors as a smoke assists them, and X7 makes noise at long.
Speaking of Dupree, he's a sole B defender right now, and with the speed of which Sergey took that tunnel control, like this was a B split from the get-go. Dupree can actually try and charge forward towards mid. That would have been a fantastic 2K for him, would have sectioned off the support from that bomb and possibly cut down the round in and of itself, but it is all too easy for Ence. They walk into this B site off of those initial kills and have found themselves a 4v4 quite simply.
Yeah, played Astralis like a fool. That was so simple. I mean, they used the UMP to run a distraction at long. He had no potential to actually get a kill there. He just wanted to try to make presence if possible. And now Ence are already on for the hunt. They take out Device and Op is gone. It's 3 players up. They've actually got another one. Magus takes the shot, though, and lets him know that he's still alive and in the vicinity. Alu, will he win this duel? It's kind of an important one, honestly. Not as much for Alu, but would be kind of a bonus prize. Magus actually makes it pretty competitive, though, getting 2.
Nice.
Keeping alive. But with all of that, you know, running down Fast Cat, a really textbook strategy, just getting out mid as fast as possible. Again, Dupree did it for the same reason. If you think that the CTs are going to go for 3 long control, it's a gamble read. It can be based on conditioning, but it can be just because you know the other team's tendencies. And then you can go ahead and abuse that early open mid double doors. And that put Dupree in a very difficult situation. It seemed like he was almost going to connect with the spray. And if he did secure the window, push outside of the site, it would have been a completely different round, but that wasn't the case because the trades went as they should. And that is then showing us that they're keeping up mechanically as well.
Alu's up on point, tags Magisk, softens him up as he will find himself alone on B with a whole cohort of Ts running straight at him. Magisk blinded and cut down, but Dupree has the safety of the other side of this wall now. Smoke's pluming all across the bomb site, fire spreads, and shots ring off. We come to a bit of a standstill. A head boost over the smoke could give them a line of vision. A cheeky way to catch a kill, as Alexi may try to exit. He's being pressured from so many directions that he's just going to lay down the smoke. And as the counter-terrorists try to exit, this is confirmed by Alu, just hitting shot after shot. And Astralis writing this round off. That's crazy. Double digits for Ence.
Yeah, and they can keep it in the spawn that whole time. Dupree luckily saves his teammate there. They've got mad information on where the CTs are at the moment, but you know, the fact that Alu, it's just such a power position to be in spawn while the bomb is getting planted, that means the round couldn't have gone more swimmingly. So forcing their way into B, and again, looking like they did in the first half. If you remember, Astralis were on fire in the first half with 5 rounds in a row. Yep. Ence came back with 3 more, and now Ence have done that with 5 in this half.
Things are getting juicy, Mohan.
Truly miraculous stuff. Really, really good. Well played. And we're seeing tons of stuff where they're outplaying Astralis. They're forcing rotations. They're calling early saves. And those are all great signs. And there's still so much of the map left to see. And we'll see if Ence can continue that pace. But it feels like their T side is just as formidable as Astralis is. Early shot out from Alu, just to test the waters. No smoke kill this time. 3 out at long control for Astralis. Tons of utility expelled, but that's kind of the game you play if you think it's going to be a long control hit. You don't want to waste your time and send 3 players there only to go and die. So they come away with control of it, standing outside of long. And it's really on Ence to try to make a move. Device does not win that duel, and in fact is the only one who takes damage.
Bro, I don't think I've seen this many op shots connect and not kill.
Yeah, that's a big stat.
Everybody rocking Guardian Angels at the moment.
Oof, matter of timing.
Zipex. Oh, he gets blinded, but he regains vision first. So who's more blind? Ends up turning the tide of the battle there. Zipex falls, though. We have Glaive still up and open in this position. Catches 2 kills. That's a high-pressure situation that he comes out on top of. Minute to the clock. Bomb falls back to join Sergey in mid. And the CT set scrambling as they need to figure out where Ence have got off to.
Man, the trades are absolutely fantastic. I love how they postured up for Cat like that, but it was so good from both Xyp9x and Glaive to get their kills and stay composed. And Alu looks like he can turn this into a 2v2. He does get that kill. And Device, the lone man to try to defend against this Cat play, now turns into the T's with control of it and an option to kill CT spawn.
Oh, and hits it right away. Dupree creeps into his own death. Does that send Magisk packing? He has a smoke to work around Cat with. Sees a player in the open. That's an easy kill versus Alu, who could have easily fallen back. I believe bomb's not quite planted for him. But Sergey has swapped over to the op. It's going to take a lot of damage. Magisk, he gets the kill, he gets the round, and that's Astralis maintaining a 2-point lead.
Yeah, the two-piece, the 1v2 from Magisk. Absolutely fire. That was super well done. Sergey was in a tough spot. As soon as he let his shots go off, it became more of a 50-50 situation. There's only so many places that Sergey could have gone to, and he knew that kid had to take a duel. So it ended up coming, the two youngest players of their respective teams going head-to-head. But man, what a way back into the round from Ence. I mean, Alu getting his first kill, but then killing CT Spawn 2 was also phenomenal, and that can't be overlooked. And the amount of damage they did in that round is big. So even though Astralis go ahead and take a second round, that's at least something to take down the economy a little bit. They're quite low, in fact. Everybody between like 1,000 and 2,000, with one player at $0. Device back at mid doors. Will he continue his trend of hitting but not killing?
Well, he's trying to catch that kill. Look like Ence could even shuffled in for more mid push. Alu. Okay. Even Device gonna take some more damage as he rattles off shots, eventually finding Aerial at least. How many more? We've got T's standing out in no man's land and Device just cocking that bolt back. Has to go for the reload. Not the best time for it as his teammates all fall around him, but he is still alive. He does still have footing in the round. He's anticipating Alu to peek through smoke, and X7 definitely heard the scope. Device pinched in two directions, hits Sergey at least, but there comes X7. He was waiting for his chance to get that advantage looking down.
Man, Ence have stringent communication. I mean, they coordinated a double peek, and we can see it on X-ray. It's super easy to understand. Here, you peek here, you peek here. But they had that down. Device had no time to even turn around. And again, it's Magisk in the 1v2. He might have the opportunity if he isn't spotted to get one kill, but that opportunity is gone. That door is closed. We'll have to move up with the AUG with two players who know exactly where he is.
Ooh, but he burns the Opper, finds him with the AUG. Can he get the second down towards the CT spawn? He's crossed.
It's not planted good for, I mean, he could jump and try to get this kill.
My God.
In fact, he might have to do it.
Down
we'll see.
Okay. Takes the high road, gets Magisk off the bomb, and saves the op.
Yeah, saves the op. That's big. Another really, really cool round.
I love that he didn't just go for that jumping kill.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes it's so tempting because how many times have you seen it happen?
Absolutely.
But plays it, knows he has the time to thoroughly peek, and look what happens. Magisk has to come off the defuse.
Yeah, you've got a pretty good internal clock, you know, when you're within a second, but at the same time...
What's a second?
Yeah, what's a second,
you know?
really? Yeah, you could really cut it close. So he makes the smarter decision. Aerial, lucky to be alive at this moment.
Yeah, he's got shrapnel in his knees. Shaky legs. Still trying to pry around the corner here. CTs have fallen back, 3 of which, in fact, reside on A.
But again, like last round, they killed, and look at this, Astralis are actually on pistols. So there was a last round before that where they got up on Cat. They had to fight against Xyp9x and Glaive, and they had to work their hardest to get through. But with their communication, you could see how much emphasis they put on small opportunities and how kind of coordinated they stayed in those moments when other teams would have fallen apart or just waited or been confused about what to do. They know exactly what to do. They're being very deliberate. And I think that's the kind of highlight thing about Ence at the moment.
Double smoke, high flash. Glaive tries to just get himself within that temporary cover as the rest of the counter-terrorists look to envelop the site. Xyp9x looks to hide, reside, and buy time for the perfect chance to strike. He's lost a teammate. Alexi Dink down to 10, calls the closest player. That looming threat in Xyp9x still yet to be dealt with. But sure enough, 1 by 1. And you know what? 30 seconds left means that the clock's not an issue. Ence, they just hold their positions, keep their guns out, don't get distracted by throwing utility, and they deal with that threat of pistols. Astralis have lost their lead.
Yeah.
Folks, we're tied at 12 apiece.
We're tied, and we've had fantastically clean anti-ecos, immaculate anti-ecos, and that means that everybody has a bank on Ence. They're also on the T side, which makes that a little bit easier on them, even if they do lose rounds. So Astralis, although they'll have this kind of like blessed new economy change in their favor for them to pull a comeback off, even after losing so many rounds, they still have to chew through this economy, the T side events, and all of these different cool strategies that we're seeing being employed. Blade goes down immediately. 3 players triangulating his position easily. Now taking long control once again and seeing an opportunity like they did with Xyp9x on Cat.
Immediate transition into the closer play, not giving Astralis a single chance to breathe. Device looks for a deep angle, but does he realize these players are so close? They'll follow suit with another volley of smoke grenades, trying to give themselves cover on the cross, but it's a hellfire. Guns firing, spamming, spraying away. Nobody's gonna go for the boost just yet. In fact, X7 cuts Xyp9x through it. All of these gunfights, Mohan, on this A site have been like face-to-face, barrel-to-barrel, but the bomb plant will still come through. Alu gives cover as Magisk is toppled. 2 versus 4 between Device and Dupree. Can Astralis pull one off again? Doesn't seem so. They tuck tail and walk back. That's a lead now for Ence.
Yeah, they're actually taking this the distance. I mean, at the very least, they're looking to take Astralis past round 26, which didn't seem like that was anyone's prediction. Honest, I think Maniac maybe gave them a bit more credit, but yeah, I mean, you know, you'd be a fool to think that Astralis weren't going to be able to like win. You know, I think, you know, there's maybe upset potential in there somewhere, but for it to be this close and competitive in both halves, despite Astralis winning, did they win both pistols?
Yes, they did, but in the second pistol, they got reset the round after.
That's right, they got eco'd.
So a full 5-0 off the first pistol and just 1 here on the second half.
Okay. Firmly in position to take the match. Because Astralis hold on to the op, it's powerful for them. It might drag them into a bye that they wouldn't normally have had a part of. But because the Opera can also drop, that helps make sure that the 5th player can get nades. So utility belts will be restocked and everybody will get the gun of their choice. It looks like Astralis are in this starting now.
This is an 8-2 half at the moment to Ence's favor.
Yeah. Now, again, there's so many options here for Ence. They've done a lot of good. They've won a majority of the rounds here in this half so far. They have employed a mid to B strat so long ago it might be distant in Astralis' memory. Right. They've got problems at A that they need to solve. That early cat aggression as well as long aggression has gone Ence's way, even on straight up rushes, right? So there's so much more that Ence can show, and that's what Astralis are going to be most concerned about, most certainly.
Really good B spawn this time, and it looks like Ence are going to capitalize off of it.
Aerial.
Just run Alexi B straight down mid. He's got to be cautious. There's a player waiting on the other side. 2 defenders inside of the B bomb site, and that smoke could have them head elsewhere.
Yeah, they could have easily, you know, swung in the way, like swung in the palm tree, swung in the wind like a palm tree, and decided to overstack long because they're so worried about the A presence that Ence have brought in. But it seemed like they made sure to stay composed, and they realized that Ence might be looking for that opportunity once again to abuse the mid to B doors, and this time played the 2-on-2. The setup is red from Ence. That molly comes down in the tuttle just to make sure they feel unwelcome, and then they can move back into the default. Ence have to now rethink what they were trying to do, and I'm sure they gave a lot of thought into that particular strategy. So let's see what the adjustment is. It's a turning point of the match, and Astralis seem to be running on a read at the moment. 3 players in B.
They are right in predicting that bomb heads that way, but the real question is, what do the CTs give up because of Alexi and Alu's pressure on Catwalk? They've been met by a Molotov.
This is an amazing gamble.
Yeah, and they're going to hold it, so it seems. But for how long? 35 seconds left. You'd think at this point, if you've waited this long, don't go now. They line up for Dupree. He gets himself a double. Magisk falling the 3rd. Bomb has been gifted here to the Danes, and that looks like 13 rounds apiece. Very reminiscent at the moment is what we saw between Astralis and Liquid, where Liquid were making it happen, but towards the later portions of the game, Astralis came back in.
truly incredible to just stay in tune with their instincts in those moments. I mean, it's such an important round. Ence could have gotten 14 there, put them back on a save. Astralis are running a huge risk by overstacking B because it's much harder to rotate out of B into like CT spawn or like the usual spots when they've already had trouble at A in the first place. And also, there's just far less B action in general, so it's a gamble stack that will pay off maybe 40% of the time. But in this situation, is obviously more clear to them what might happen. I mean, maybe credit to Glaive here, but like, look at this. When have we seen like a full-on tunnels rush from Ence? They knew exactly what was coming their way. And it might have been the fact that Ence in the early round showed that they were attempting a rush, that they kind of clearly had an affliction for it, but and then that they would also just try to follow up later in the round. Maybe that's a tendency that they harped on. We don't know. 13-13, round 27, and Ence are back to mid.
Oh, this is so sick. They've actually got their way through door. Zipex will come downwards now. He's going to be met by an op, and he gets Alu just to the side of the box, spraying for the second headshot versus X7, but it's a clean trade frag. It's still a man advantage up for Astralis, but at least Ence still have footing in the round. Bomb in their possession has been left towards Tons, and Alexi will walk over the corpses, so it seems, to figure out where Astralis have got off to.
It was huge that they were able to take Ence, or Ence were able to take the fights to Zipex, excuse me, on Cat, as opposed to in the mid to B, which is his stomping ground. It's exactly where he wants to try to take these engagements. But here they see why they were having such a good time outside of that. 2-for-1 trade for Astralis. They've now got firm grasp on the round. You can see Device can kind of dance on top of the car in a situation you would never be able to do if you didn't have Cat control or a man advantage like they do now.
First one caught off, skewered to the sideline. Device flashed and still successful. Keeps himself standing on less than 10 health. Sergey spotted and Astralis successful. A 14th round is theirs. And now we ask ourselves, the money for the Ts is fine.
It's amazing. It's still far better than the CTs. That's crazy. They've still got 2 full buys in their back pocket, and that means ops. That means full utility. That means Astralis are not out of the woods. That doesn't mean that it means they don't even have an easier round at all. It's going to be the exact same challenge. The best part for Astralis is that they've won 2 rounds convincingly now. They looked good. They had better setups on the reads, and this is it. Like in the last quarter, this is when Astralis really make these amazing adjustments, and it proves to be a constant for them.
Yep. I mean, this is where many teams can take them, but not many teams can best them.
Definitely, it's
in
not,
these final 5 rounds.
It's not a coincidence how many games come close, but then Astralis still like close them out with that 1 round. But Ence still have a chance. 1 man down, up on Cat. Oh, but the big flank out to mid.
Oh, sketchy though. Device looks like he will linger, and does it pay off for him? He's being given another duel. Terra's gonna try to charge forward, but they're met by resistance. Zipex just beneath the lip of the ledge, hits the head of Alu, drops the bomb and tries to spray Aerial, but now he has to close that gap, and in doing so, he'll die. Astralis have got themselves that 15th round. It's OT at the least.
Yeah, if anybody thinks that's boring to watch, they're absolutely imbeciles.
Blast, opening, round-robin rounds. There is no overtime.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's a point secured for for Astralis no matter what.
Excuse me, I'll bite my tongue.
Yeah, but not surprised how close the match came. Just fantastic, man. Like it's so crazy that you can see, even though there are 5 individual players, you can see them working as like this unit, and how much kind of discipline they have with all of these different players working on their individual bits of information, and then coming together to make sure that they have a focused strategy and they can be the sum that's greater than the sum of the parts.
But double man advantage, Mohan. I mean, we're not out of the clear just yet. Glaive doesn't know where he's at. Has his head snipped off. We're gonna have Sergey still keeping his eye towards the backside, and good thing he does so. Drops Dupree and will take us the distance. 30 rounds between the finalists of IEM Katowice here in round 2 of Sao Paulo Blast. What a sick way to start the first day.
Definitely. It's not the map. We didn't actually see this map at the major, so this was a big question mark, and it's great that we get to see it now. Dust 2, again, they're both apt on it. It's a map that teams are just taking Astralis too, and especially in best of one situation. So it's great that we see them go head to head. For Ence, they can hang their heads high, but if they don't win this match, I mean, their tournament life is on the line. They already are down. Or sorry, they're not down a game. They actually won a game. So this is, you know, two of the winners going head to head.
Yep.
And so 1 point could actually be huge for both. This, you know, could be the 2 teams in the finals.
I mean, we have seen opening days at Blast events decide basically who's going to find themselves in the finals for the following. So, you know, but then we also had events where the first day results end up meaning nothing when we come back tomorrow.
Which is good for sure.
So if we get ourselves an Astralis and Ence win, showing their form early here in Sao Paulo, and then they go ahead and tie in their head-to-head matchup, come on, you can't make this up. It's a beautiful narrative.
Device has really turned up in these last few rounds, and has been pivotal for them. I mean, just staying alive, being smart about where he finds his kills on A. He got one at long. He picked up an AK flank top mid. He was able to get his kill on Cat in defending. He stood strong when there was a full exec coming Cat, and he was the only man to hold. So he's done stuff that nobody on Ence was able to do versus though as A hits, and that's been big in helping them come back into it. On top of all the fantastic, smart decisions they made as a team in the early round to judge where Ence want to try to attack, where they might show presence next. They've almost always been right about that as well. Magisk is taken down low. Alu will not be able to get confirmation on that kill. And it seems like X7 was here just to try to follow up on the kill if Alu spotted anything, but nobody's going to come into his crosshairs just yet. And for the meantime, Astralis will leave him alone.
Zipex flirts his way closer. He's going to play inside of the doors, but his head's on a swivel. Needs to keep eyes towards bottom mid. The question will be, can Device from Catwalk find an angle into Tons? He's got support with him. Okay.
Yeah, that's a good amount of damage traded back. I mean, it's still 5v5, but they know about that at least, so they're clear on both teams' health at the moment. All right. See if he goes down at a minute up. As he leaves, he just wants to let them know, hey, I could still be here. Hey, I was here. We know that you might want to take Cat. All of these things to make you scared to go that way. In the meantime, he falls back. He looks for a new angle, and it's going to be a common one, but there's still potential for him to get the shot off.
Doesn't seem to fancy his chances, falls and gets back over towards Goose. Or rather, his teammate does, excuse me. Glaive tucked away. Device plays Car. They still have full long control, but Dupree comes out of the pit, still having vision on door. Sergey needs to go back and clear mid. Remember, he's caught flanks before. They're gonna throw X7 downwards. He almost lines up 2 bodies. Traded frags. And here we have Device working the edge of the smoke, dropping bomb, swapping to the 5-7, and hearing the players close, but he can't seem to do anything about it. X7's Deeg is out, spamming away. The knife's out. This is wild. 3v3, 5 seconds. All Astralis have to do is survive and hold. They've got it. 16-14. They survive one hell of a test.
Yeah, by the skin of their teeth, and they reprove themselves against Ence. Again, they're contenders in the major final. Look fantastic. They did it on a map they hadn't played yet, and it went the full distance, and every round was honestly awesome to watch. Really good map from Ence, but they'll take no points today.
Damn.
At least in this match.
Yeah, in this one, right? Convincing win over top of MIBR, and then a near tie. I mean, even a 15-15 could have been a beautiful picture, but still awesome. It's so cool to see Astralis coming into this tournament as a team that is touted as being on a completely different planet in terms of Counter-Strike, and yet they've been tested, not just here by Ence, but also Liquid in their opening matchup. And like we've talked about before, in these first 5 rounds, we have a lot of dust too for Astralis. We have more of it coming up tomorrow. We are going to hand this one off. We'll see you guys soon.